Chapter 12. Ria was waiting for you when you exited Cᴇʀᴏ. She was leaning against a tree, arms crossed in a way that annoyingly reminded you of Akabane that one time at the mall, right before you'd said you hated him. That was a little over 2 weeks ago, and summer was approaching quickly. Never mind the second end-term exams. Rio's frown was a little different, though. She didn't look guilty or regretful, only displeased. She met you halfway, pulling out her phone and shaking it in your face a little. "I've been texting you." You knew she had since before yesterday. She'd been blowing you up. Kind of. "Yeah, sorry. End-term exams, you know?" You tried to go for apologetic, but your tone came off brisker than anything. Though it was true, it wasn't the full truth. You had been studying for the end-term exams, but more so than any exam ever. It was as if you were throwing yourself into work to avoid your problems, which you knew wasn't healthy. You just kept telling yourself after the exams you'd message her after the exams, though now you guessed Rio didn't feel like waiting too. She unfolded her arms. "What are you doing right now?" You looked at her, tilting your head. "I was gonna go home and study." "But you are always inside. We should go somewhere." You began to protest, waving your hands, but a grin found its way onto her lips as she leaped forward and gripped your arm in hers. "Let's go see a movie." "But no buts. Come on." She pushed on your back, keeping a steady pace until you ended up on a train. She sat, her legs crossed on a seat. You placed your bag carefully in the seat next to yours. "So, what you been up to?" You rocked back and forth, your leg bouncing up and down. "Nothing much. What about you?" She shrugged her shoulders and looked away. "The same. I haven't seen you these past few months as much." "At all. You haven't seen me at all." You wanted to say, but instead you muttered, "I wonder why." "What was that?" She looked at you expectantly. You thought to wave her off, but for some reason a surge of energy shot through you and you felt like confronting her. You turned in your seat and she did the same, leaning in. Your frown matched hers, although it might have been a little thinner. She had no right to be angry, though. No right. She had left you, for gods know who. "Where have you been, Rio?" She tried to say something, but you cut her off. "You've been gone. Gone." She hesitated, unsure of what to say, it seemed. Good. She should feel like that. She needed to be put in her place. She couldn't just come trapezing around here like you were as close as you were a few months ago. It just didn't work like that. It pissed you off, more than Akabane or Asano. Gone. Nowhere to be found. I messaged you. I texted you. You kept flaking out on our plans. It got so bad I just stopped making them. Stopped texting you altogether because you were never there. Then I find you were out with Akabane. That's the worst part. I thought you were sick or something tragic happened. But you were completely fine, weren't you? You paused for a minute, huffing and puffing, red-rimmed Rio's eyes, but you didn't care because tears were splattering your own cheeks. She opened her mouth as if to say something again, but nothing came out. The rest of the people, old and young, were staring at the two of you. Your heart burned with something more than hurt. It might have been the disappointment you felt. "Why?" you asked. "Why were you gone? Why were you so unresponsive? What happened?" She shook her head. She just shook her damned head. You clenched and unclenched your fists, grating your teeth like a mad person. "I want an answer, Rio. Now." It's not that simple," she said, voice hoarse and raw. How? It hurt so much. She kept shaking her head, her eyelids smashed together. Your body was shaking so much you couldn't stay still, stay sitting. You stood, almost falling over. What is it? What is it? You felt your heart beating in your chest faster than it ever had before. You thought you might have a heart attack or something close to it if you did not calm down soon. The train came to a stop and you glared at her. She watched you with pleading eyes, but you couldn't believe the audacity that she had, the entitlement. You grabbed your bag from the seat next to you and exited the cart with a large number of other passengers. Spend too much time with the devil and you start to become him. Ellen! You jumped up, but you were already off the cart. You began heading into the crowd, moving toward the stairs. Ellen! She shouted, pushing past people, trying to reach you. It looked as if her legs were failing her somewhat, and even her legs were trembling. But you couldn't find it in yourself to care, as the thought that she'd called you Ellen instead of Wyan flooded your mind. Nakamura, leave me alone. The words were wrenched from your throat as you faced her, people mumbling about the commotion. Ellen, please. What happened to Wyan? What is wrong with you? You slid her a disgusted look before turning away. Her voice traveled after you, but she stayed at the bottom of the staircase. You were laying in your bed. In fact, you hadn't left your bed for 2 days. It'd been the most you had ever skipped school without being sick, but you hadn't had the energy to get up. Your parents were getting worried and wanted you to see a doctor, fearing it was a result of something they could not see. You had refused to even get up from your bed. You smelled. Not taking a shower in 3 days would do that to a person, you supposed. Eventually, they hired a home doctor. He was due to come in an hour, which your parents told you would be just enough time to get in the shower and don some clean clothes. Begrudgingly, you gave in. You were brushing your teeth very sloppily when the doctor came in. One of your parents opened the bathroom door and said the living room would be you and the doctor's for an hour, and you would not be disturbed. You looked at them. Am I seeing a therapist or a doctor? They laughed it off, but left right after. You rinsed your mouth and prepped yourself. When you walked into the living room, your heart stopped beating. It literally stopped beating. You approached the couch slowly as the doctor looked up and said, Wyan, my name is Dr. Akabane. You can call me Kazuo.